Hello everyone and welcome to class today. My name's Jessie. For those of you who are new here, welcome to Within. Today we're doing something a little less traditional for us. We're doing a class on our IT band, not a traditional yoga class, so we're not going to do a whole lot of breath work. There's not going to be an intro. But basically what I want to do is just show you guys some exercises that you can do to help relieve pain in your IT band. So we're going to work both with strengthening and with some nice stretches that will give you some more immediate relief today. So first of all, the IT band it runs right along the side of your leg here. It connects these outer thigh, lateral thigh muscles, there's quite a few of them in here, to the top of your tibia, or there's just the top of your shin right here. So it runs from about right there all the way up, almost like basically to your hip. And it stabilizes the hip, it helps to stabilize the hip. So a lot of people who have issues with their IT band or IT band pain, these are your people who are running a lot, anything where you're bending and extending your knee a lot. So biking, running, that kind of thing, that's over time probably going to cause you some IT band pain if you're not evening out the strength in your legs, right? So what happens when we feel pain here is most of the time it's coming from a weakness in the outer glutes, because those are supposed to be stabilizing the hips, but if they're weak, your IT band here is going to get pulled on by the tightness of these muscles in the thighs. And another thing about the IT band is it's not a muscle, so it doesn't stretch really. I mean, it does a tiny bit, but it shouldn't stretch. It's like a ligament, so it's not really meant to do that. And then it's the muscles around the IT band that are going to pull on it as they get tighter, making it feel tight. So it is getting taut, like, you know, it's a band, it's getting taut, but it does not stretch. So that's why it can feel really, really painful, because it's not going to give it all. And so, you know, what we want to do today is learn how to strengthen these outer hips. I'm going to show you like three exercises that hopefully will be really helpful. It's not a quick fix. You're going to have to do these pretty frequently in order for it to make a difference, but hopefully it does make a difference. And then I'll also show you a couple of stretches that might just help bring you relief in the moment, and hopefully a little bit longer than just the moment. So what you'll need, you don't need a bolster, that's just for me. I am 8 months pregnant. But you do need either a block or a step, like a staircase nearby, or literally anything you can stand on for just one exercise. And if you don't have anything today, you can always just watch that part and do it later. And then I'd also love for you to have a wall. Again, we're just going to use it just for one exercise. So again, if you're not near a wall, not a big deal. You can also lean up against a piece of furniture if you have that nearby. So we'll make it work. Most of this is going to be without props, so don't worry if you don't have anything. All right, so have a block just nearby. And we're going to begin, if you face with your left side towards a wall. We're just going to start here. I want you to take your feet right underneath your hips and just step your left foot back and over to the right, like a little baby crossover. And then from here, stretch your left arm up. Get really long through both sides of your waist, and then send your hips to the left as you arc your upper body to the right. What I don't want you to do is rotate your hips to the left here. I want you to think about pulling your right hip back, pressing into that left foot and bringing your left hip slightly forward while keeping your chest open towards the ceiling a little bit. So we get this nice lateral stretch along the left side of the body. If you are really tight around that IT band, you're probably going to feel this. If you're not so much, you might just feel this more along your hips or your waist, and that's okay too, no harm in that. Take one more big breath in. Big breath out. Good. And then slowly take that left hand to the wall. You want it a little bit away from you because I want you to lean into the wall a little bit. And then from here, you're going to allow your hips to fall to the left. You can bend your right knee. Keep pressing into that left foot. And just stand kind of tall with your upper body, letting those hips sort of get heavy over to the left side. And keep pressing into the left foot. And again, you should feel this running along the side of your leg if you have tightness there. If that's not the tightest part of your body that might be affected by this stretch, again, you'll probably feel this more in your waist like me. That's okay. Okay, stand nice and tall. Allowing your tailbone to slightly drop down. Sometimes we want to stick our butt out here. Take one more big inhale. Big exhale. Good. And then just slowly come back up to standing. And we'll go ahead and just switch sides. Okay, so switching sides, take your right foot behind your left foot this time, so like that little baby crossover. And then we'll take our right arm up. Left hand comes to the hip. Take a nice big breath in, get long and tall. And as you exhale, bring your hips slightly right, arc over to the left. So you want to gently press into the sole of our right foot. Both legs can stay straight here. You can play with bending your left knee, but we kind of get into that with our other stretch. But if you want to go there, go for it. And keep really lifting up through your right ribs. Just breathing into the whole lateral right side of your body. Take one more inhale. And exhale. Go ahead and slowly make your way up. Take your right hand to your wall. And we're going to bend the left knee. Allow the hips to sort of fall towards the wall. And then keep the upper body just nice and tall. Again, we want to let the tailbone sort of just be relaxed. Sometimes we just end up sticking out our butt here to compensate a little bit. So just allow the hips to get nice and heavy to the right, tailbone to lengthen. One more big breath in, breath out. Oof, that one feels good. All right, slowly come back up and stand on your mat, obviously. Grab a hold of your block, or don't grab it, just place it on your mat. You're going to step onto your block or whatever you have, a chair, whatever. If you're using something high like a chair, you might want to just have a wall next to you. Be careful. And then you'll step onto whatever your ledge is. It can be the side, the lowest step of a staircase also works great. And then from here, place your hands on your hips. And we're just going to allow our right hip to sink a little bit, right? So you're just relaxing that right leg. You should feel your right hip drop. And then I want you to push into the block and pull your right hip back up. Yeah, and we're going to do about 30 of these. So lower and then lift. And lower and lift. Good. So what you're going to end up feeling is this outer left glute is going to start to fire up. I want you to make sure your left knee isn't completely locked, right? The leg is straight, but your knee isn't totally locked. Rather, you're engaging the muscles around your knee. Continue to lower and lift, and again, you're going to feel this quite a bit in that outer left hip. So this is really good hip stabilizing exercise. And like I said before, a lot of our IT band pain stems from weak hip and glute muscles, okay, and overused thigh muscles. So that's why we end up having a lot of runners and bikers with this issue, because it's the same repetitive movement, right, that you rarely mix things up. So what happens is you're only working the same muscles all the time, and then there's all these other muscles that might be playing a little bit of a role, of course, but compared to the others, not so much. So, all right, so you should really be feeling some fire here now. We got a couple more. We're going to be here for about 30 more seconds. If you have any trouble balancing, by the way, just grab a hold of something. Just obviously don't use it to help. Whew. It's a very humbling little exercise. And I would say it's very common for a lot of people to be weak in their glute medius, which is this outer hip area. So if that's you, if you need to take a break, go for it. We have literally 5 more seconds here. Okay, last one. And lift up. Go ahead and shake that off. Cool. Whew. So that's something to stick in your back pocket. Let's go ahead and go right into the other side. So you'll step on the block with your right foot, lift your left, and then slowly lower and lift. Lower and lift. And again, just be mindful of your right knee. Right? Be careful not to lock your knee joint. That'll just end up putting pressure in the back of your knee that causes other issues that we don't need right now. Really focus on that press up. So when you push down into the block with your right foot, squeezing that outer right glute. Just allow it to be sensational if it is. And remember, you can always take breaks. And if this amount of time, we're actually going for about 2 minutes. I decided that counting to 30 was just too hard while I was trying to talk you through it. So instead, I'm looking at a timer right now. So we're going for about 2 minutes. If you feel like this is way too much for you, start with 30 seconds, work your way up to a minute, work your way up to 2 minutes, or just start with counting to 10, 10 on each side, work your way up to 30 eventually. And that should make a difference. But like I said, not a quick fix. Another thing you can do is if you're used to running on a treadmill or a track or a straight, a road, you could try running on trails instead. Stuff like that can be really helpful because it's going to make you use other muscles as you go, like on uneven ground. Bikers, I'm not sure if I have a solution for you guys. Unfortunately, I think biking is biking. I'm not sure if you can mix up those muscle groups quite so much. But if you hear of something, let me know. I think you might just have to cross-train a little bit. All right, we're here for 5 more seconds. Press. And press. And 1 more. Ooh, okay, awesome job. You can go ahead and put those blocks or block to the side. Give your leg a quick shake. All right, and then let's go ahead and take your left foot behind your right foot again. And we'll go ahead and stand up nice and tall, lengthen through the spine. And then as you exhale, we're gonna hinge forward and do a fold this time. So if you actually want to use blocks, you're totally welcome to. I'm gonna grab mine because my stomach is in the way. And if you feel like you're really rounding your back, it's definitely a good idea to have blocks. If you don't have any, don't worry about it. And once we're here, I really want you to pull your right hip bone back, heart forward. Let's take about 5 more deep breaths. And then halfway lift, lengthen your spine if you're not already there, and just step your left foot to the top of your mat. You can widen your feet to about hip distance apart and just start to simply bend your knees one at a time, sending the opposite hip bone back. Okay, and you can do this sort of in a flat back stance like me. If it feels good to fold a little deeper, go for it. Just bring in a little bit of space into the hips, the sides of your legs, the hamstrings. Yeah, And then let's go ahead and put a bend in the left knee. Let's start with left. Keep your left hand down. Take your right hand to your hip and press your right hip back as you twist open to the right. So you should feel this in the outer right hip, or maybe for some people down the IT band. 3 big inhales and exhales. Continue to lengthen your left ribs away from your left hip, so you're lengthening through both sides of your body, and press your right hip bone way back. Go, one more big inhale, and exhale, and release. Halfway lift as you breathe in. Exhale, forward fold. Let's come back up to standing, inhaling, reach tall. And exhale, take your hands back to your heart. This time we're going to step our right foot behind our left. Lengthen through your spine. You can take your hands to your hips, get really long. And then fold here. Taking your hands again either to the ground or to your blocks. Work towards pressing your left hip back. Another sport that's affected by this is rock climbing. My brother's a big rock climber, and I know he has some IT band stuff going on. But it's just literally anything where you're bending and extending your knee repetitively. That'll do it. Try to breathe really well here, so especially if there's a lot of sensation for you, deep breaths. Go ahead, and then halfway lift. Go ahead and step your right foot forward. Bend your knees again one at a time, just sort of swaying out the hips. And then we'll finish with a bend in the right knee. Ground your right hand. Take your left hand to your left waist. Press your left hip back. Open up your chest towards the left. Gently draw your shoulder blades back and towards each other. And pull your belly button forward to the top of your mat as your hips press back. Stay with me. One more big inhale. Big exhale. And softly release. All right, halfway lift, get nice and long. And then as you breathe out, just bring your feet together to touch. Lift your heels up and make your way down onto your mat. All right, we're going to face the side, and I want you to lie on your right side. And you can lie on your forearm. You can also lie all the way flat here if this doesn't feel good for your shoulder. And then I want you to stack your ankles over each other, knees and thighs together. You're about at a 90-degree angle in that knee, okay? You can take your left hand to your hip, press into your right shoulder so that it moves away from your ear, and then keep your feet together as you open up your hips here. And actually, I changed my mind. Bring your left hand in front of you, and then slowly release. And that's going to keep you from rolling back too far. I want you to keep leaning into your left hand. Lift your left knee. And lower, and lift, and lower. So we want to pause for a moment at the top to really squeeze that outer glute. And so this is sort of one of those examples where speed is the enemy of detail, right? It's better to do really conscious movement rather than doing 100 reps of these. I'd rather have you be really aware of squeezing that outer glute as you come up and hold, and then release. And just keep leaning into your left hand. That way you're going to really utilize the outer left hip muscles rather than getting into other muscle groups, which is not what we want. And this should start to feel a little bit fiery. And if you want more here, you can use a workout band, you know, the kinds that you wrap around your legs. So you would put that right on your thighs, just above your knees. And that will add a little bit of resistance. So when you start getting really good at this, you can start to add in that extra little bit for yourself. Okay, go ahead and come down now onto your arm. I like to rest my head on my hand. Keep leaning into your left elbow. Extend your left leg out. Pull it back just a little bit. You're just going to bend and extend. So pressing through your heel. And then go ahead and lift that leg up a little higher. Yeah. Think about wrapping your transverse abdominals here, so activating your core. Bend and extend. Again, we're just little baby bend and extend. I want you to really work towards this left glute, just keeping your hip really high. And let's actually take out the bend and extend, point your toes, and just make small circles back. Yeah, and that way we don't have to activate these outer hip or thigh muscles at all. You're just using the hip muscles now. Okay, and then make tiny rotations forward. Keep the leg high. You should be feeling it in your outer left hip, your left glute. Keep leaning your upper body forward, but take your leg back a little bit, keeping the height. And we have about 5 more seconds here. Okay, and release. Let's go ahead and make our way up and switch sides. So take your left forearm down, bring your legs to about that 90-degree angle, feet together, and then just simply open and close. Open and close. So this isn't necessarily that like super feel-good, immediate release kind of class, but this is the kind of stuff that will actually give you some long-term relief. And it is going to take a little discipline on your end, right, to try to, just build that extra strength where you need it, and that doesn't happen in the blink of an eye. But hopefully, if you're consistent with this in about a month or 2, maybe you'll start to feel some relief. And just also think of ways of mixing up your workouts, right? So if you're really a diehard biker and you're biking 4 or 5 times a week, maybe if you can even substitute one of those bike rides for something else, a yoga class or a hike or swimming or literally anything else that's going to try to, get your body moving and strengthening in other ways. Don't forget to squeeze at the top. Squeeze at the top. Keep leaning into that front hand. A lot of times you'll also find that there's one side that's a little bit weaker than the other. That's okay. Keep stacking the hips. So that right hip might want to sneak back on you. I almost want you to lean it forward slightly just so that you can compensate, make sure you're not rolling it back, and that way you're going to target right where we want you to target. Okay. Go ahead and lie down onto that left forearm, or left arm, I guess. Extend your right leg, and we'll start with those little bend and extends again because we did it on the other side. Lift the leg high, just tiny little bend extends here. Press through your heel. Ooh. And again, keep stacking the hips, so don't let that right hip roll back. Keep rolling the right hip forward, leaning into your right hand. Okay, and then point your right toes. Go ahead and make little circles back. And keeping the right hip rolling forward, you can try pulling your leg back a little bit more. Tiny little circles. Engage your core so you're lifting that lower belly up and in, wrapping your ribs in towards each other. Switch direction. Starting to feel spicy perhaps. Stay with your breath. We have just a couple more seconds here. Stay with me. Keep rolling the right hip forward, drawing that right leg up and back. Stay here for 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release that. Oh, nice job, you guys. Okay, go ahead and just roll onto your back. I'm just going to shift over here because my back does not like to be lied on at the moment. So I'm going to take my props here. All right, so once you're on your back, you can be flat on your back here. Bend your knees, widen your feet, almost about mat distance apart. And then just allow both of your knees to fall to the right. And then once you get here, I like to kind of have that left shin pointing basically straight forward. So you can just check on that. And then, or not shin, left thigh. And then from there, maybe place your right foot on top of your left thigh, just above the knee, not on the knee. If that feels like it's too much for you, you can just keep the right foot on the floor. And then if you want to add a little bit extra, you take your arms overhead. I like to grab my left wrist with my right hand and take a side bend towards the right. And then really press down through this left hip and thigh and lift up from the left ribs. Okay, so you're getting this nice, just big stretch in the, not only around the IT band area, but also the front of your left hip, the hip flexors, the waist. Take one more breath here. And lift your legs back up and go ahead and make your way right over to the other side. Again, pointing that right leg more or less straight forward. Left ankle crosses over right. And then if you want, you grab your right wrist with your left hand on this side and side bend towards your left. Okay, big inhale, big exhale, and slowly make your way back to center. All right, you guys, you can go ahead and sit back up. That's all we're gonna do today because I wanna keep this video brief and I'm terrible at doing that, so we're already around 30 minutes. We'll come out with more of this stuff if you're looking for more exercises that are great for the IT band. Things like twisted triangle are really good. You can try that on. You can also just give yourself a little bit of massage. You know, walk your fingers down the whole area of that IT band, just to bring a little bit of release, maybe getting into the muscles around the IT band, giving them a little bit of release, and see if that helps. And try to repeat the hip exercises we did today, because I hope that will work for you. And if not, you can always talk to a PT. I couldn't recommend that more, actually, especially if stuff like this isn't working. Talk to somebody. They can analyze your body specifically and really help you and try to figure out what's going on. This isn't a bad place to start, but if it doesn't work, go see somebody. All right, you guys, thanks for joining. See you next time.